welcome to another episode of Imagine the Possibilities. I'm Joseph, and with me is...
Adam,
And
Adam Mcleod, which we'll be getting into slightly beyond this episode.
yep, exactly. And we'll most likely be calling him the Highlander. So,
Don't you dare! You can just call me McLeod if you need to. You've done that most of my life. When I got in the military, it was like no big change for me, and everyone freaked out about it. Like, how did you adjust to having your last name used all the time? Like, I had a friend who would only do McLeod because I was in school with four other Adams.
yep, exactly. And that's the one that we're bringing on the next episode.
Yep.
So, all right. So what we're doing is essentially not a brand new idea. It is essentially a spin-off of a already going game series that is up to number 8.
It's one of my favorite series, actually. Really cathartic, fun to just put down, kill some time, and thousands upon thousands of starving Chinese villagers. Dynasty Warriors, a game based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms story, the history of China, essentially. It's a game that's basically had other versions come out. I think there was a Dynasty Warriors Gundam out. They have a One Piece game coming out, which looks really good. I got to play that at Comic-Con. It was really, really fun. Had some neat
It looked good.
mechanics.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's really unique because each character has its own mechanics in play. Like, if you play Law, you can actually make a little room that causes all your moves to hit everybody in that room. So, but that's getting off into stuff that isn't related to what we are trying to suggest here. It is Imagine the Possibilities, so we should probably imagine a Dynasty Warriors based on American history instead of Chinese history.
Exactly.
Yes, this is something I've been wondering for a while. American history is kind of very short but extremely bloody, and I was wondering one day, it was during the Robot Chicken skit for 1776 when 300 was really popular,
Yeah, I remember.
of just, King George coming down, and he's basically Xerxes from 300. This is a British colony. And then you have George Washington. He's got like gigantic rippling pecs, and he's got an American flag cape and a colonial hat. Just, this is America! And he'd basically 300, but with the founding fathers. And I thought, I really want to play that game.
Exactly, and that's essentially what this is a spin-off with all of the presidents and
Historical figures for the United States all throughout history. Basically being about as historically accurate as Dynasty Warriors can. I mean, in that game, just to kind of condense things down, things are simplified. People are brought in and out of the narrative like way before and way after they actually lived. So you can imagine on American Dynasty Warriors basically with Abraham Lincoln and Nixon fighting Hitler.
exactly. And then Ronald Reagan and Taft, fighting whoever, Osama or
Going
whatever.
into Vietnam and
Exactly.
winning it.
We fight the Viet Cong. Actually, that was
There's
slightly
Charlies
more
everywhere.
Nixon. But
I'd love to see a condensation of just enemies for World War II just being like commie Nazis, like that Simpsons episode, just having like goose-stepping guys with gas masks, but they also have like little Japanese flag thing you always see in those movies.
Exactly.
And then like they have like little communist band somewhere on them, just all Americans' enemies in history at the same time.
Yeah, just morphed into one enemy.
Yeah, they have like turbans and like suicide vests too, just like really kind of almost insulting, really, as the stereotypes go.
Exactly.
But the idea just being that you overblow everything, you take it the kind of Saints Row 4 idea on subtlety, just taking everything, putting it up to 12, and then having fun with it. This is a game you have the American presidents as the playable characters for a hack and slash beat 'em up.
Exactly.
Like how are you going to take that seriously? It's going to be fun. It's going to be over the top. Every single president, I could imagine just having these amazing mechanics or just kind of a representation. Like George Washington, like I said, running around with American flag cape, like always just screaming out America, like at every opportunity. I'm trying to think of like George Washington. Oh, I think Abraham Lincoln you can have with his axe
With
going
his
around
axe.
chopping down things.
Mhm.
I mean,
Taft
kind of comes
with his bathtub.
Batman Taft wielding a bathtub.
Yeah, you know.
There's if you think of you can think of almost any American president throughout history. I mean, you can think of like Samuel Adams and just actually have him be the beer guy.
Yeah, exactly. Have him
Just
throw beer.
have him
Yeah.
have a gigantic keg the entire time. I
Yep.
don't care if it's not historically accurate.
Exactly. You know, you got freaking. Um,
You could have Teddy Roosevelt. Basically, Teddy Roosevelt would have to be Zangief, but American.
exactly.
Just
Exactly.
some like muscled up, roided up like Zangief, huge, bigger than life.
And a
But bas-
bear, like a bear skin, like with
a
the.
bearskin thong, basically, and then you just Teddy Roosevelt's face, like almost like just poorly photoshopped onto someone else's body.
Exactly. You know, and then yeah. So I mean, you've got all of these, and then of course we were talking about the fictional characters, Paul Bunyan, whatever. Like,
Yeah, you could have you could fictional characters. You could have Paul Bunyan or Johnny Appleseed. I mean, he was a senator, but you could have someone just going around like I don't know, throwing apples at people. Would be kind of funny.
or he could, pistols that shoot seeds. That would
Just
be
with,
pretty. And it grows trees on the freaking terrain or something.
it's just a little bit of a character creator of just Johnny Appleseed making stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you're thinking. Let's go back from characters. Actually, we planned on doing characters for a bit, but
Yeah.
let's go with like what kind of stages we can have. Because I'm thinking we can have the American Revolution being like just. I'm thinking maybe one battle, just because if we're oversimplifying things, let's oversimplify the American Revolution as basically what we're taught in elementary school in the States of just, the British were evil pricks that came over and we just we rose up against them in one fight apparently.
Yeah. You
I
can
mean,
have, of course, the Alamo because why not?
the Alamo would be just to have Custard in there and all that. It's a very famous thing. But you could also have like the Civil War.
Yep.
So we have the American Revolution, the Civil War, the Alamo. Then let's go with World War One and World War Two.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor.
I almost want to
Pearl
merge
Harbor.
those.
Why
I
not?
almost want to merge those into a single thing.
Yeah, there you
It's
go.
like it's the World War in Europe. But we could do Pearl Harbor and then have somehow Pearl Harbor end with directly the bombing of Hiroshima.
Yeah. It
Like,
just be
the
it just
same-
be JF or not J or yeah maybe even JFK just freaking cannonballing into Japan. That would be the cutscene and it blows.
Yeah, like the entire map is just one map. Like the entire Pacific campaign is just a map of Hawaii that you are bombed, and you just drive back the forces and then use it to blow up Hiroshima.
There you go.
Like, yeah, I know we're kind of making fun of the deaths of millions of people, but it's something everyone does. So so we have.
But I mean, we're poking fun at it. It's not like it's not like it's a sore subject at this point. But it might still be. Who knows?
It's been 42 years. That's the amount of time it takes for something to become hilarious. So we have Revolution, Civil War, the Alamo, World War One, World War Two, Pearl Harbor. We'd obviously have to have Vietnam.
Yeah,
Have the modern Afghanistan or something like that. Just the Gulf Wars, basically. And then
Yeah.
I'm thinking we could also have
enemy Pancho Villa. Pancho Villa. He just has his little two guns. Just really horrible, and then
I don't want to get off into like how amazingly you can make a Pancho Villa if you try.
yeah, exactly. That's
he
not
can't-
what we're doing. We're poking fun. We're not gonna be.
We're poking fun, and also like the funny thing is that at that time period, like a lot of that stereotype of like the actual poncho sombrero, like that's what people would actually wear at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, back then, if you actually had to be outside all day, I mean, I'd wear a sombrero too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm basically looking about like seven levels that were just coming off the top of our heads, spitballing.
Yeah, exactly. 7 levels.
It's
At
like
least,
just big things for. I mean, yeah, there's different things you can do. I mean, you can have even historical events throughout history. You can have maybe you could have bonus stages like the Western expansion of the United States.
The Louisiana Purchase. Oh,
The Gold Rush is
Gold Rush.
a full bonus level where you just like go around and beat up the landscape.
there you go. It's like Street Fighter where they had the car and just
But there's
you
just like
just put
a
Blanca and just lightning shock it to
just
death.
hitting kick as hard as you could on that machine.
Yeah.
That was good times. Okay, so we actually like have a good amount of levels where basically you could have an even if you're condensing down things and not doing two for a single one, you can do levels pretty easily for this. So easily you could have all that. Now, getting back to characters though, I would definitely want to see basically the Reagan smash joke from Family Guy.
Yeah,
Just Ronald Reagan, like looking
Reagan
no
smash.
no interpretation, just Ronald Reagan in a nice suit with his little American flag pin that everyone has because America, and then have him just going around Reagan smash, and then having like Hulk like ground pound effects.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think also like I'd love to see both Bushes basically as cowboys.
Yeah. And their
Or
a
George
special
W.
is a stampede.
Oh, yeah, no. George W. Bush would have to be like basically a cowboy, but with a flight suit.
Yeah.
Because he was in the Air Force Reserve or something like that.
Hmm.
And I'd love to see Poppy Bush as just like a straight up cowboy, the straight up cowboy hat, boots, and all that stuff. And a big part of this would have to be basically everything being so outlandishly inflated and overrepresented that there's no political leaning either way. So you wouldn't be having any sort of like, oh, this was a bad president. As far as this game would be concerned, they were all kick-ass presidents. They were all capable of, single-handedly destroying the entirety of the Nazi army and then kicking Hitler into the moon.
Exactly. And then, of course, you also have, we kind of didn't touch on this, but the Indians as well. Because we went mythical, we went presidents, mythical, and then lastly Indians, because that's just how we roll, I guess.
That's America. We're going to go over our mythical things before we actually go over into real life historical Indians. Sacagawea, Sitting Bull.
Sitting Bull.
It's either Sitting Bull or Running Bull. That shows a lot of respect for someone who's like a super important person in American history, but. Once again, that's kind of the way the cookie crumbled.
But and then so you have all those Rosa Parks. Why not?
I can't even. It would have to be some joke
Malcolm
about
X or Martin Luther King.
I like the idea of Martin Luther King. Like Malcolm X would be much easier to actually have him fighting, but I love the idea of Martin Luther King. Like I'm trying to think of if you've played Dynasty Warriors, a lot of people like will summon shadow versions of themselves.
Oh, there you go.
Attacks. Or like you see that in anime too, where they summon a shadow to do their attack for them. And Martin Luther King like just doesn't do, like he just makes these speeches and like to attack like other people show up and just start beating on people.
Exactly. But,
I mean, it kind of goes against his message, but it does kind of go with the theme of beating up your bad guys.
Yep. And then of course there's DLC downloadable content.
DLC is basically anything like this. You're gonna have way too many characters to have developed logically. Like we could even have a Scientists of America DLC. Imagine that. This could be like we're gonna have Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, all as playable characters for DLC.
Yeah.
Just think about that. Like have Tesla going around. I mean, just shooting lightning out of his hands because that's how we roll.
Yeah. Could have Steve Jobs in there. Why not?
Gamers in gamer logic, anything that involves power is going to involve lightning. That's just how game logic works.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna probably have Benjamin Franklin in there, and he's gonna have a metallized like bladed kite that shoots lightning.
A bladed kite that like he'll throw out there and it'll like wrap around people with a string. It'll be like a little like key sitting on there, or maybe he'll just be wielding a gigantic key.
There you go. Yeah,
into a Kingdom Hearts character.
Yeah, exactly.
We have just a lot of different things you can throw out there just for themes. DLC could be scientists or great religious leaders, but I think the two big ones, because you're gonna put this out and everything's gonna be so overblown, just for everything's too bombastic to actually have a political message. But you put it out and then day one, like you have a $60 game that's a fully its own game, and then have a DLC that it is liberal bias DLC and conservative bias DLC, where you get the DLC and it changes everything in the story so that liberal people are like unassailable, like gods among men with morals and ethics, and then conservatives are baby eaten coal slavers, and then conservatives the opposite way. Conservatives are all are presented as the perfect gods amongst men, captains of industry that have driven us forward, and liberals are these horrible leeches wanting to enslave everything, and playing it straight faced as you know you have the conservatives in the liberal DLC, and their actual goals are stated to be like to enslave people. like, like this isn't about subtlety. This isn't about cutting political parody. It is literally presenting one side as baby eating monsters. In fact, we could even have that as a point of the DLC, like in some sort of like dinner scene, they're actually eating a baby.
I don't know. I think people may revolt on us just slightly for that, but
If they didn't revolt on us for making all the fun of the people at Hiroshima or the Indians, they're not revolting at eating a baby.
We'll see. We'll see. The comments will tell us, and we'll still probably laugh. But
I guarantee you right now that someone's linking that picture of the baby cake.
oh no, the baby cake.
Every time I see it, it's just like that's really, really creepy and disgusting.
It was like there was kind of slightly off topic, but there was a cake where it looked like a person, and then they were just cutting it. It like looked almost like a real person, and then the other side was just like where they were cutting off to give people cake. It was like, oh, that's a little mortifying. So.
A little mortifying. It's a little bit like that episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
It just had was it Commander Troy? It wasn't Commander Troy at the time, but it was it was her as a cake.
Yeah.
But getting back to video games and not
Star
Trek: The Next Generation. But though we could actually just talk about Star Trek. I mean, if this is for nerds, then they're gonna love talking about Star Trek. So.
Dynasty Warriors, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Warriors, Star Trek. Well, we just came up with another game.
There you go.
Just think about that. You could have each season of Star Trek as its own thing.
Geordie LaForge.
It's just too perfect. Like already you're just thinking of every major character, and you're thinking of not just Geordie LaForge and Worf. Of course, Worf would have to have like the lowest health in the game, just so he gets beaten all the time.
Oh, poor
or he's like
Worf.
actually really strong, but if ever you're not controlling him, like he instantly loses against whoever he's against. But you could have not even just Geordie and Worf and Picard. But you could have like Barclay, or you can have Wesley Crusher.
Oh, see, but here's the horrible thing. Like, I was just thinking that of Wesley Crusher, and I bet every person would be attacking Wesley Crusher. Even though Will Wheaton is a really cool guy, there's a lot of people.
You put both Wesley Crusher and Will Wheaton in there.
Yeah.
I don't care how it breaks continuity, just Will Wheaton shows up in there.
There would be a scenario battle where it's Will Wheaton
and
Wesley Crusher.
Wesley Crusher fight to the death.
Exactly.
And they play that theme song too.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be glorious. Okay, so so getting away, because that just makes me think of like how many like other things from like DS9 and stuff you can do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not what we're trying to do
let's
this one.
Let's try to focus back on Dynasty Warriors for the American people. Though I mean, honestly, it's a very basic concept. I mean, we're basically taking Dynasty Warriors like that. You know what the concept is, the genre, everything that involves with it, and just saying use that with the setting of American history. Like there's a huge amount of possibilities, but you're not really doing anything by suggesting them because we're suggesting Nixon being a kind of wire fighting kung fu guy with recording tape, and that's hilarious to us. But someone might else have like a better idea about like how to have him fight or do something. So
exactly, and there's a lot of presidents to choose from. There's a lot
of presidents, and like if you just go forward and find out like what they're known for, you can just put them in there and have a lot of fun time just kind of butchering American history.
Yeah,
not just American history too. We could go off and do other countries too. Like I don't see any reason why we can't just do the British. We could do the 50-year war, the War of the Roses.
Oh yeah, there you go.
You could do that and just have like this completely butchered, history from the 50 Years War.
I mean,
Or
because we're eschewing everything. I mean, you could go and put America into some war they were never even in. If you really wanted to just have some kind of fun, it's like these two people are fighting, and then all of a sudden, George Washington and freaking Nixon show up, and they're just like start destroying everybody. It's like 2-on-1, and these guys are just running in and destroy. It's like nothing to do.
How amazing would that be just to have a entire series? Dynasty Warriors actually just sets it up so that you can, with your PS3, Xbox, or PS4, if this ever actually come out, you actually, if you get a game, you can load up any character for that game into like basically a character slot, and then take them to other games.
Yeah,
And they just like start releasing like full basically a Dynasty Warriors history, like any history you could think of. They just put out a Dynasty Warriors for like just as bombastic, just as crazy. And then you could actually have, you have George Washington show up and fight Lubu.
Yep.
It's a fight between the two of them to the death.
Yeah, and then what if there's a Dynasty Warriors like India version? George Washington comes in, eats a cow, everybody attacks him. And I'm sorry, yeah, blasphemy. It's blasphemy, I guess, but it's burger.
There's exactly two Indian, like very devout Indian upbringing, video game playing nerds out there that
just stopped.
One just said no, and the other one's like, that's hilarious.
Just never gonna listen to us again.
Yeah, it's a very specific audience, and we just kind of split like the two guys down the middle.
Yep.
I'm already thinking of just like how awesome that just is with something like having even just Star Trek, or even going into other things. Why isn't there a Game of Thrones Dynasty Warriors? I don't even read Game of Thrones. That sounds like the perfect thing to have for Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, Game of Thrones Dynasty, because everybody dies. I spoiled it for everyone. But you could do it with Rome. You could do, could fight the Caesars, Colosseum style.
Fight the Caesars, or you could have. There's a lot of stuff. There's pressing up the Celts into the north, setting up Scotland, basically.
Yeah.
There's Russian history, but that could just be basically watching people die of starvation over and over again for about 2 hours.
Get power up vodka. Oh, and there goes the Russian, like the one or two Russian people that were listening to this. They are gone now because we just generalized that they drink nothing but vodka. I'm sorry, but you do. All right.
So it's vodka. It's the only thing that stays liquid over there.
That's true. Oh. So cold in Soviet Russia.
You have that. Well, I mean, if you really are hard up for levels, you could actually have one where the Cold War was actually a war that was just fought in the cold.
Yeah. Oh.
Battle the Cold War.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could also, the Iron Curtain right there. Why not? There's another one.
A physical Iron Curtain. And have that as the invisible wall. Instead of an invisible wall, there's just an iron curtain like around the level.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see. We have a big enough gap there that you can edit if you need to. But how far we are in actually talking about this?
We're at about 23 minutes, so we actually should wrap it up.
Okay, I suppose we can wrap it up if you need to. But I mean, it's not like we were doing each anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's cut back. So we have basically the idea is Dynasty Warriors, just why isn't there more of this with different settings? It's kind of obvious when you're thinking about it, but that's kind of the entire point of this series. There's a lot of stuff that gamers are sitting out there saying, well, why aren't you making this? And game companies are like, nah, we're just going to let go of the creator of Mega Man because no one wants to play Mega Man. They definitely won't spend millions of dollars kickstarting a new one.
Yeah, and what happens? Oh, millions of dollars kickstarting a new one. But it's not Mega Man.
It's not Mega Man, at least as far as...
It's distinctly different with a new name.
It's just, I would honestly, if they named it Mega Man B or something like that, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. But all right, well, and if people that are wondering like why our first one was really long and this one isn't as long, it's because basically you already know Dynasty Warriors. There's no need for us to explain in mass detail.
If you need Dynasty Warriors explained to you in mass detail, you have not played video games. What are you doing on this site? And number two, your life is very sad. Like,
So go out and get it.
Go out and have some fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Almost 4 million for that Mighty Number 9, but Kickstarter, by the way. A game people were asking for. Why isn't this being made? $4 million to make it.
Yep.
All right. So that should be the end for the episode. Make sure to click subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you didn't enjoy the video and just want to complain at us and write nasty comments, subscribe still. We don't care what you do with it.
Yeah, you can flame us down in the bottom, whatever. You know, we'll take it. Just subscribe and listen to our next one and flame that one too. Why not?
All right.
So, thank you for watching, everybody, and we'll see you most likely on the next one.